everyone. Hey, congratulations on this new film, Wild-Eyed and the Wicked and Wicked.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. It's such an interesting film, and the storytelling is very compelling. So, Gordon, I want to hear it first. Is where the original idea came from for this film?
Sure. Well, get that question a lot. And the most quickest way to put it is like it's a culmination of a lot of different things, desires, impulses, thoughts, questions. And I wanted to see again what is we still have so much medievalism and medieval interest in our modern day. So what would it look like? Why is it? It's sort of fun and interesting. And then what would it be like to have someone becoming a knight in the modern day, and what are they battling? It's kind of the quickest little way to put it.
And Michael and Stephanie, tell us what initially drew you to this project.
Well, I was very intrigued by the character of Gregory, the father, who's dealing with himself. Wakes up, this is exaggeration, but wakes up one day to say, "Oh, I'm not sure I did the best job as a father." And I see my daughter, and I'm worried about her, and I'm saying, is that my fault to a degree? Is it my fault? And how do I deal with that? How do I deal with my own depression and try to overcome that? So it's a character who gets to go through a journey, who he's struggling to redeem himself, and I think I do to some degree. So that's a fun journey for an actor.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Yeah, the characters in the script were extremely compelling and human, which I think as an actor is always a treat. And I think what also drew me to the project was the script itself. I think it's not your typical horror film. It's grounded in this real emotional reality of this family struggling with trauma. So I liked that it was a horror film, but also had this element of familial drama. It has this fantasy element. So it checked a lot of different boxes for me in terms of tone and aesthetic, which I think is always fun to tackle and be a part of as an actor.
That is actually an interesting subject to bring up. Because like to me, when I was actually watching it, at first there were elements of horror, but I wasn't even sure if it was a horror movie. It almost felt much more like a drama movie. Gordon, did you ever consider it as a horror movie since you were writing it?
Of course, it's a lot of genres. I really it's a horror movie, it's dark fantasy, it's drama. I grew up, and a lot of people I think grew up with movies that combine a lot, with directors who combined a lot. Spielberg, who'd go from Jaws to Schindler's List or whatever. And so I definitely bristle when the idea is people want this very narrow idea of what a single genre is, because I find that's like, well, I've always loved combining lots of things, and it's like, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, is it horror? Of course, it's a monster movie. It's scare sequences. It's darkness. It's, psychological thriller and trauma and all this. But it's like, but sure, it's got drama in it. It's like, and it's a hybrid. It combines. And I mean, I can't think of yeah. I mean, yeah. I think a lot of I know my favorite movies combine a lot. You kind of come away with like, oh my God, like one of my favorite movies is this intense, like what would kids be considered like art house drama, but it's also hilarious. So what is it? It's I think the best stuff, like life, combines so many elements.
So Gordon, how did you want to approach the character development of everyone's characters in this film? Because you get that sense of loss, that grief, that loneliness with the mentality of each of these characters.
Sure. Well, character development it's a tool in a toolbox. And sometimes if you're in like opening like the playbook of like what is good writing, you'll always see character development, which can mean a lot of different things. and the theoretical side of character development can be fun. Because it typically means character change, even though there actually are some really good novels and movies out there where the characters actually don't change, which is a fun conversation. But yeah, you know, and but in this case, you know, I knew it was definitely a story about characters changing, and particularly a father-daughter relationship that's being navigated that, you know, has been bad, and what does it mean now for because this really definitely is a movie with as clear as much as the character of Lily is, you know, front and center for like 90% of it. Michael's character Gregory is also very much front and center in terms of the, like, at the center question of the story of, is like, for him, you know, how much do I buy into what seems like this crazy fantasy of hers, but I also want to, you know, rebuild my relationship. So I liked exploring those questions of, you know, the stakes for these characters, and as you say, you know, the character development, but ultimately, um, you know, casting actors who are clearly in the audition process and in the interview process were already 90%, you know, inhabiting and in touch with their characters. You get to come on set, and as I said, your best scenario, we're kind of saying louder, softer, you missed your mark, a little to the left, a little to the right, is definitely where you want to be.
Well, I guess that throws the ball to the actor side here. How do you folks get into the mental status of your characters, particularly for this movie, Michael and Stefanie?
Um, well, for me, I think it's finding, I mean, Silvia obviously is dealing with some very, very intense depression that thankfully I don't, as Stefanie, experience in my day-to-day life. So for me, it was delving into that and figuring out what was causing it for Silvia, and are there elements of that that I can relate to. And I was able to find things about Silvia's mental state that I could completely relate to. And I feel as an actor, like once I have that initial like into the character, the rest of it just kind of falls into place. And I was, you know, very blessed to have a good script and a good director to guide me, and good good co-stars to act opposite. And I think a lot of times the character just sort of blooms out of that. It's like my own personal preparation melding with uh the vibe and the collaboration on set.
How about for you, Michael?
Yeah, I think that I try to get as specific as possible and particular about it. I'm talking about the individual situations, such as I invite my daughter over for dinner. And I know, like, when I'm writing a difficult email, I always think, oh, that was fantastic. That's going to go really well. And hit send, and it doesn't go so well as I planned. And so I think about her showing up at the door and me being arrogant about it. Oh, she's going to see me trying to make up, and she's going to be like, oh my God, Dad, I forgive you for everything bad in the past. But it doesn't exactly go that way. And then how do you overcome? Yeah, so I try to stay in each specific moment, and I feel that I, as a person, am more self-centered than I want to be, and so my characters are going to want to be. What I mean by that is the arrogance of thinking, "Oh, this is a great response, so it's going to go well." And again, it doesn't seem to work out that way in my life.
Gordon, you know, as with any horror movie, people love the creature feature. Tell us the look of the demon that you wanted to basically portray in this film. How you came up with it.
Well, you know, it's definitely more revealed towards the end. So I won't spoil too much, but on that, just even alone, was that I wanted to have something that was in the shadows, and your mind would be doing the work until the main character's mind does the work, shall we say, in the end. But yes, the creature very much is real, which was even that was one of the most fun conversations early on, which I loved what producer Patrick Robert Young said, which was, there was a time when I was really looking at, okay, how much am I going to play with how real the monster is, kind of thing. And he had, I love what he said. He's like, all movies are metaphors. Don't worry about it. And I really liked that a lot. I was like, yeah, this whole like, is the monster real or not? It's kind of, like, it's a movie, it's a metaphor. So don't go crazy with playing with that too much. I still very much like to bring in an exploration of that in the film, but it's not, I think you can be very unsatisfying when you do that. And then she sits up in her bed. Oh, what a crazy dream. And that, can be a big turn off for people, which I understand. But I still love that. All movies are metaphors. If anybody's watching them thinking that they're real, you probably have a different problem.
Well, let me pose this question to you, Gordon. Why do you prefer practical effects over CGI effects?
Money. No, no, the art of it. Yes, the art of it. No, yeah. So honestly, well, we did have actually a good amount of VFX in this film. We had two really good VFX artists, Chris Riley and Justin Cerceno. Obviously, at this level, you can only do so much, but the things that we do, we could be really, really thoughtful about in a narrative way, in a thematic way, what we did want to do and why. Practical effects. I mean, yeah, there's always, I mean, if you actually, even if you have gazillions of dollars, if you can do it practically, oh my God, yeah, because it's always going to have the most texture to it, the most reality to it. But both are great arts. And I think that sometimes you see these perhaps a little silly battles that happen, I think perhaps, about, by people that think either something might have more VFX than it does, or have more practical effects than it does. Most things are pretty solid combinations of both, even going way back, yeah, there's in-camera effects done in back, the golden age of Hollywood versus stuff doing that's right in front of you. So you make the best story you can through whatever way you can.
That is true. And Stephanie, what was your experience like in that makeup chair?
It was great. I can't lie. Like the makeup chair can be a torturous place, especially when you're in it for hours. But we had a great makeup team. And like, I think, I don't want to ruin anything, but like Gordon, like I was not in full body prosthetics or makeup, which it very well could have been. So that made it a lot easier to deal with and put on and take off. People forget about the taking off part. Just as laborious as the putting on in some cases.
Well said. And let me ask one last interesting question: is the armor itself, was that made for the film, or did you actually commandeered real armor?
Ooh, commandeered. That would have been fun. Just go like fight somebody for it. That would have been fun. Or a horrible idea. Whoever owns armor's probably got pretty good armaments. No, yeah, no, it was bought online. There's lots of armor that's made online, because you think about, there's Renaissance fairs around the world. There's, armor competitions in Europe where they just, beat the crap out of each other. So there's a lot of armor out there that you can get. And so we got some. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Well, everyone, I appreciate this conversation for Wild Eyed and the Wicked. It is a tremendous film that everyone should check out, at least for Molly's performance in the film, which is also terrific. And I feel like Gordon is zooming from that on-site location and out in the middle of nowhere in its own way too. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gig.